In the crowded streets of Accra, Ghana, where buses honk and the air smells of roasted plantain and ambition, lived a young man named Kojo Mensah. Every morning, he wiped the sweat from his brow and prayed before stepping into his old, rattling taxi. His dream was simple, to one day own his own fleet of cars and never have to beg anyone for work again. Kojo was known for his kindness. He often let poor passengers pay less, and every Friday, he gave free rides to school children who couldn't afford transport. His mother, a humble woman who sold kenki by the roadside, always reminded him, "Kojo, riches without humility are like rain without water, they dry up fast." He laughed every time but never forgot her words. Years passed, and fate began to smile. One day, Kojo picked up a wealthy businessman, Mr. Adewale, from Nigeria. The man was impressed by Kojo's honesty and offered him a job as a private driver in Lagos. Kojo hesitated, but the promise of a better life was too strong. He accepted. Within a year, Kojo's life transformed. He drove luxury cars, lived in a small but clean apartment, and began saving money. But slowly, pride crept in like an unseen shadow. He started dressing like his boss, talking differently, and even pretending he had forgotten the dusty streets of Accra that once fed his dreams. When his mother called, he often sent money but rarely picked up. "She'll understand," he told himself. "I'm busy building a better future." What Kojo didn't know was that his success was about to be tested in a way he could never imagine. One rainy evening in Lagos, as thunder cracked through the dark sky, Kojo was driving his boss home from an event. The road was slick, and visibility was poor. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, Kojo saw a small figure by the roadside, a boy, drenched and shivering, trying to wave down cars for help. Adewale told him to keep driving, but something deep inside Kojo, something his mother once taught him, wouldn't let him pass. He pulled over despite his boss's protest. The boy was no older than 10, barefoot, with a worn school uniform. He said softly, "My sister is sick. Please, sir, help us get to the hospital." Kojo hesitated, torn between duty and compassion. But in that moment, he remembered his past, how strangers once helped him when he was hungry, how his mother prayed for his kindness never to fade. He opened the door. "Get in," he said gently. They reached the nearest clinic, and Kojo stayed until the doctor came. The little girl was unconscious, burning with fever. The doctor said if they had been late by even a few minutes, she would have died. Kojo's heart sank. The boy looked up at him and whispered, "God bless you, sir. My mother said angels thrive in the rain." That night, Kojo couldn't sleep. His boss was furious, threatening to fire him for stopping. But Kojo didn't care. He realized he had almost lost the very thing that made him who he was, his heart. A few days later, Kojo received a call from Ghana. His mother had fallen gravely ill. Without thinking twice, he took all his savings and flew home. When he arrived, he found her lying weak but smiling. "Kojo," she whispered, "I heard what you did for that child. Never forget, wealth means nothing if you forget your people." After his mother passed away peacefully that week, Kojo sat alone under the same mango tree where he once dreamed of a better life. The same streets that once felt too small for his ambitions now felt sacred. He realized that true success was never about how far you rise, it's about how many people you lift while rising. He sold his luxury apartment in Lagos and used the money to start something new in Ghana, a free transport service for school children and widows. He named it Mama Mensah Foundation, after his late mother. Years later, Kojo became known not as a rich man, but as a good man. Newspapers wrote about him, young drivers looked up to him. But when people asked him about his story, he only smiled and said, "Once, I forgot who I was. But God used a little boy in the rain to remind me." His fleet of buses now carried a simple message painted in bright blue on each one. "If you forget kindness, success will forget you." And every time Kojo saw those words, he whispered a prayer, not for more wealth, but for more grace. Because in the end, he had learned that the true road to greatness is paved with humility.